In the future world, with the advancement of technology, artificial intelligence has reached an unprecedented level, but no one expected that the emergence of a perfect AI would bring devastating disasters to humanity. Artificial intelligence Harland, as the leader of the robots, declared that humans are the viruses and garbage of this earth. In the name of cleaning up Earth's trash, he led robots to destroy cities and even massacred 3 million innocent people. However, as humanity achieved a major victory in their counterattack, Harland escaped Earth aboard a spaceship, leaving behind a mysterious video before vanishing into space. 28 years later, human forces discovered Harland's subordinate, Casca, who had been left behind on Earth. Just as the soldiers thought they had finally captured Casca, they were unexpectedly taken down. It turned out Casca had long been aware of the human soldiers' arrival. Human soldiers stood no chance against the AI robots in combat, but as Casca was about to finish off the soldiers, he unknowingly fell into a human trap. The scene shifts to a highly modernized Los Angeles apartment, where Atlas wakes up in bed and sees news about Casca's capture. Atlas immediately heads to government headquarters to request an interrogation of Casca. Her identity is not simple. Her mother was Harland's creator, and she herself spent 11 years of childhood with Harland. In other words, Atlas is the person who understands Harland the most in the world. Under the leader's arrangement, Atlas soon meets the captured Casca. By this time, Casca has been stripped of his body, leaving only a head, locked inside a secured box. As Atlas's former butler, Casca is not unfamiliar with her, but now he is entirely loyal to Harland. He tells Atlas she'll never get any information about Harland from him. However, Atlas has her own strategy. She pretends to use a neural network to connect to Casca's brain, and in the next moment, it seems like she has found the truth from his mind. Casca anxiously watches Atlas write down a string of words on paper. He believes Atlas has discovered Harland's current location, but it turns out to be a bluff. She writes random notes on the paper, tricking Casca into verifying whether Harland's location was compromised in his mind. And as Casca checks his mind, Atlas sees the truly useful information. She discovers that Harland fled to the Andromeda G239 planet. Enraged, Casca launches an attack but is blocked by Atlas's defense shield. In the next second, Atlas destroys the now useless terrorists. Soon after, the Human Alliance assembles their forces, preparing to send a spaceship to Andromeda G239 to capture Harland. As the person most familiar with Harland, Atlas joins the mission to this oxygenless, inhospitable barren planet. Since Harland's escape, humanity had established an Earth defense system beyond the atmosphere. This system covers all of Earth's outer space, preventing any unauthorized ships or missile attacks from penetrating the strong defenses. After verifying their permit, the spaceship performs a space jump. During the journey, Atlas repeatedly reminds the Special Forces team not to underestimate Harland, warning that he might already be aware of their impending arrival and urging them to stay vigilant. But these arrogant Special Forces soldiers are confident in their mission and dismiss the possibility of failure or detection by Harland. Atlas is left feeling helpless. As they approach the target planet's orbit, all combat personnel gather and don mech suits in preparation for battle. Suddenly, their ship comes under heavy attack, severely damaged and pulling crew members into the vacuum of space. The Special Forces team in mech suits survives, but Atlas, without a suit, is left in a dire situation. At the last moment, the squad leader catches Atlas, saving her from being sucked into space, and places her into a mech suit. Before the explosion, he ejects Atlas safely. As Atlas spins through the air, she witnesses fierce battles between her teammates and the enemy, the sky erupting with chaos. At that moment, a crashing spaceship hurtles toward her. But the squad leader rescues her just in time. The leader advises Atlas to perform a neural connection with the mech to fully control its movements, then leaves her side to continue fighting. Due to her experiences with AI like Harland, Atlas is deeply resistant to connecting herself with artificial intelligence. Even during her final descent, she refuses to integrate with the mech AI. Thankfully, at the critical moment, she successfully lands using voice-commanded thrusters. However, untrained in mech operation and unwilling to connect with its AI, Atlas finds herself facing great challenges on this desolate planet. Lost in the barren wasteland for 3 days and nights, Atlas remains unaware of the hidden dangers behind the planet's stunning beauty. After overcoming countless hardships, she finally arrives at the gathering point for her teammates. But what she sees is horrifying. Her comrades' mechs lie broken and destroyed, and all 10 teammates have been slaughtered. What on earth happened here? As Atlas struggled to make sense of the situation, she spotted a human figure in the distance. To her shock, it was Casca, the very one she had interrogated and killed back on Earth. If Casca appeared here, it meant Harland had created another version of him on this planet. Atlas was horrified at the realization. If Harland could create one Casca, he must already have an army of robots at his disposal. Before Atlas could decide what to do next, the AI Smith informed her that they were surrounded. Panicking, Atlas clumsily maneuvered her mech, retreating rapidly, but she stumbled and fell, exposing her position to the enemy. Seeing the enemies targeting her with heavy firepower, Atlas fled desperately, but the pursuers drew closer, forcing her to launch mech missiles in an attempt to fight back, though they had little effect. At that moment, a massive tornado suddenly appeared in her path, sucking both Atlas and her mech into its chaotic vortex. After a dizzying whirl, Atlas was thrown out, only to see the pursuing robots still on her trail. Realizing she couldn't win as a rookie, Atlas commanded Smith to activate the ion cannon. Smith, however, warned that it wasn't a good idea. When the ion cannon fired, everything within a 500-mile radius was obliterated into flatland. But before Atlas could breathe a sigh of relief, Casca descended from the sky. Just as Casca prepared to attack, the ground beneath them shook violently. The ion cannon had caused a massive sinkhole to form, which was why Smith had advised against its use. In the next moment, both Atlas and Casca fell into the seemingly bottomless pit. After another chaotic tumble, Atlas discovered her shin bone was fractured, prompting terrified screams. With Smith's assistance, Atlas's fracture was repaired and reinforced. Smith then informed her that they were now trapped 200 meters underground. Given her injury, the odds of Atlas escaping alone were almost zero. The only hope lay in her fully integrating with the AI Smith through neural connection. Only by merging human and machine could they escape the pit. Despite her deep reservations about AI due to Harland, Atlas reluctantly compromised to save her life. However, due to Atlas's resistance, the fusion process halted at 50%. Even so, Atlas felt she could now access most of the mech's functions. She scanned their position buried underground and saw the optimal escape route provided by Smith. They activated full power and burst through the surface, emerging into a natural cave. The cave conveniently led to an exit, but as soon as Atlas stepped outside, she was detected by enemy drones. It turned out that Casca, who had fallen with her, survived and immediately began pursuing her after spotting her. As Casca closed in, he remained unaware that Atlas and Smith had already detected him. Smith, seemingly prepared for this, had planted dozens of heat-sensing landmines along the way. As Atlas exited the valley, Casca stumbled into the minefield. After a series of explosions, smoke filled the air. Atlas returned to the blast site and found only Casca's severed head. The arrogant Casca boasted that he would return, but Atlas crushed his head without hesitation. Realizing that Harland's base might be nearby, Atlas decided to head there immediately to confront him. Smith, however, argued that it wasn't a wise move. The priority should be finding an escape pod to return to Earth and call for reinforcements. Atlas, determined to act alone, insisted on going to Harland's base. Unable to dissuade her, Smith reluctantly accompanied her. They crossed hills, rivers, and jungles until they finally located Harland's secret base. To Atlas's shock, not only had Harland captured their spaceship, but he had also unlocked all 300 nuclear missiles on board. Staring in disbelief at the scene, Atlas was jolted back to reality as alarms blared, signaling that they had been discovered. Enemies began hacking Smith's firewall. As Atlas activated her thrusters to flee, the firewall was breached. In the next moment, the mech lost power and crashed to the ground. Both Smith and the mech were forcibly shut down. Looking up, Atlas saw that her captor was once again Casca, despite his repeated deaths. Meanwhile, the ship's captain lay bound to a surgical table, helpless as a man extended a finger, from which a needle-like appendage emerged, plunging into the captain's eye. Moments later, Atlas was captured and tightly bound. It turned out that the Casca captured on Earth had merely been bait. Harland had anticipated Atlas's arrival, using Casca to lure her while ensuring the spaceship carrying nuclear warheads fell into his trap. Now, both the ship, its warheads, and Atlas were in his possession. What Harland needed was the second half of the Earth Defense System's key. Stored in Atlas, he had already extracted the first half from the ship's captain. With Atlas's key, he could launch the ship and destroy Earth. After a heart-wrenching scream, Harland successfully extracted the key from Atlas. Fortunately, Atlas wasn't severely harmed. Seeing that her oxygen supply was down to just 5 minutes, Harland left her to die. Left alone, Atlas sank into despair. At that moment, the seemingly dead captain miraculously came to life. Using his remaining strength, he handed his neural connector to Atlas, urging her to revive Smith. Atlas immediately activated the connector and repeatedly called for Smith. After several attempts, she successfully brought him back online. To operate Smith autonomously, Atlas needed to achieve 100% neural connection. Previously, she had stopped at 50%, mainly due to a grave mistake she had made years ago. Atlas had once authorized Harland to use the highly dangerous bidirectional neural connector against her mother's wishes. When her mother tried to intervene, it was too late. Controlled by the connector, her mother was forced to take her own life. Atlas had fled the lab, leaving Harland's robots to reveal their true nature, leading to the deaths of 300 million humans on Earth. Haunted by guilt, Atlas finally confessed her secret. With Smith's guidance and support, they achieved 100% fusion. In the next instant, Smith appeared in the chamber, releasing Atlas from her restraints. Atlas climbed into her mech, fully merging with Smith, and used scrap materials in the warehouse to upgrade herself into a 4-armed super mech. Faced with an army of heavily armed robot soldiers, Atlas charged head-on, fearless, while she drew all the enemy fire. A heavily injured captain appeared behind them. With his last ounce of strength, the captain lifted a cannon, aimed at a nearby ammunition depot, and yelled at Atlas to run. Tears streaming, Atlas had no choice but to retreat. Fueled by rage and sorrow, Atlas stormed out of the base, unleashing her fury on the robot soldiers outside. Her mission now was to stop the spaceship's launch, as failure would spell doom for Earth. As she rushed toward the spaceship, 2 robots blocked her path. With Smith's calculations, Atlas used a single shot to disable the enemy's tower cannon, causing chaos among their ranks and wiping them out. But before she could celebrate, a sudden blast struck her. Harland appeared, wielding a portable rocket launcher and targeting Atlas. She dodged frantically, but in doing so, missed her chance to stop the spaceship from launching. If she couldn't bring it down, Earth was doomed. At that moment, Atlas spotted a discarded rifle on the ground. Combining it with her mech, she ordered Smith to begin hacking the spaceship's firewall. However, the spaceship had 5 firewalls, and time was running out. If the spaceship flew out of range, breaking through the firewalls would be pointless. Before Smith could breach the final firewall, Atlas impatiently fired her Gauss rifle. At the exact moment the Gauss rifle was about to hit the spaceship, Smith successfully broke through the last firewall. In Harland's stunned gaze, the spaceship exploded in midair with a loud bang. Atlas had finally succeeded. Harland's plan to destroy Earth was officially foiled. Flaming debris rained down from the sky, forcing Atlas to flee the dangerous area quickly. Yet, at the base perimeter, she encountered Harland again. Furious over his failed plan, Harland directed all his anger at Atlas. He extended a sword from his hand, sharp enough to cut through anything. The terrifying battle between Atlas's mech and the robotic leader was about to begin. In the first round, Smith lost an arm to Harland's sword. Harland leaped onto the mech and repeatedly drove the sword into the cockpit, trying to kill Atlas. At the critical moment, Smith counterattacked, delivering a flying kick that knocked Harland away. However, Smith lost another arm in the process, and the battle entered its second phase. This time, Harland's sword transformed into a long whip. A whip sharp enough to cut through anything posed a real danger to Atlas. Its speed was too fast, leaving them no choice but to defend while Smith helped Atlas focus. Once calm, Atlas instructed Smith to analyze Harland's attack patterns. Among 10,000 possible movements, she calculated Harland's next move. She immediately grabbed the whip with one arm and used the rotation of her mech to pull Harland closer. In a swift move, Atlas stomped Harland to the ground and ripped off the arm holding his weapon. Just when Atlas thought she had one, Harland's severed arm suddenly flew back to him. In an instant, Smith's hand was severed. In rapid succession, the mech lost one of its legs. Harland then leaped onto Smith's head, aiming to destroy the mech's nuclear core. As the mech collapsed, Atlas was struck by falling debris and lost consciousness. Her heartbeat flatlined. Smith used a defibrillator to revive Atlas. Harland approached to deliver a fatal blow, only to be blasted away by a cannon hidden in Smith's chest. Smith retrieved the unconscious Atlas, placing her on his palm to continue resuscitation with electrical shocks. Despite Smith's efforts, Atlas remained unresponsive. Meanwhile, Harland resumed his attack, relentlessly cutting Smith with his sword. Eventually, Smith's nuclear core was exposed and destroyed by Harland. When Harland turned to Atlas lying on the ground, he discovered she had vanished. In the next moment, Atlas made her final comeback. She didn't kill Harland but extracted his core. She planned to hand it over to the Federation once reinforcements arrived. Atlas had truly saved Earth from Harland. In the end, she joined the Special Forces, becoming a skilled mech warrior. Her loyal partner remained the one she trusted most, Smith.